now.
Okay. Okay, so welcome everyone to our, I think it's our third webinar today, nice and early. We appreciate everyone that's joining us this morning, and obviously others that are joining us from other parts of the world. We've had people joining us from North America, South America, as well as India and Asia as well. So welcome to everyone. Thanks very much for spending some time with us this morning. What we're going to be talking about today is the process and the training and learning that we put in place to allow individuals to become cloud consultants. So I'll just do some introductions. Myself, my name is Tony Cook. I'm the founder and managing director of Vertex IT Solutions. I've been in the Oracle space for over 20 years, since the character version of the Oracle eBusiness Suite. We are Oracle partners as well as digital champions and Oracle University partners for learning. Also a Oracle Financials Cloud pre-sales specialist as well. And basically my organization started as a recruitment agency focused very much in the Oracle space. In the last 3 years, we've opened our horizons to training, and that's really what we're talking about today. But on the back end of this presentation, you'll see how we can blend those services together to help people align their careers moving forward. So I'll just make an introduction to Aidan.
Thanks, Tony. My name is Aidan Duffy. I've been working as an independent e-business consultant since 1999. I started as a permanent technical e-business consultant, and I transferred over time into functional because I think it offers a significantly better future career path. I've been working across. I guess the other benefit of being functional and continually upskilling and developing yourself is you do get access to better options, and I've had the good fortune to be able to travel across Europe and parts of the US as well. What I've learned looking back over my career and why I developed the training is that I've noticed a significant improvement in the quality of roles that I can get. Clients take me more seriously. Since I've started to become an expert in an implementation methodology, and that's what part of the solution that we're presenting today is that to point out the benefits and the real advantages of becoming an expert in Oracle's unified method, the implementation methodology. Could you share the deck, Tony?
I thought I was, actually, Aidan.
Not yet, no.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, bear with me 2 seconds. It's saying that I am sharing it. Sorry, give me a second here.
So the second thing I've realized is that now it's launching now is that I've been able to extend the length of my contract. So when I was beginning as a consultant, the average length of my contract was around 6 months or so. And as I developed my skills, that gradually increased, but it took a real step change, a significant increase once I started to become expert in a methodology. And my last engagement was 6 years. So from 6 months to 6 years, it really kind of demonstrates the value that I can now bring to clients. And the main reason for that is because I understand how projects work, how EBS and cloud projects work, and it's a formula that anyone can follow, and it's to use the Oracle's methodology. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today.
Perfect. Aidan, can you see the slide deck now?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, perfect. So moving on, just talk about the current situation, the challenges that we face in the market today. With the nature of cloud implementations, these are much faster implementations. Obviously, the system is configurable rather than customizable, so organizations are buying a product out of the box, literally, and then from a vanilla perspective, are adapting their business processes to suit the system as opposed to customizing the system. So what that means is that the implementations are much quicker, and therefore there's less time to learn on the job, as previous waterfall projects, 2 to 3 year life cycles to implement e-business suite or JD Edwards or PeopleSoft. You had a bit more time to learn as the project progressed, but obviously that's not the case anymore. Or less so, shall we say. The other challenges, of course, rise with the fact that the market is very much in its infancy, and therefore there's less skill in the market, and more SIs are winning the implementation work at the moment, and not necessarily is there so much of a market for contractors. However, that is changing. Obviously, there's more ongoing upgrades every 6 months. There's new features, new benefits, and potentially new functionality that organizations can take benefit from. So therefore, they're going to need BAU and ongoing consultants or internal staff moving forward, and it's how you upskill those. But on top of that, it's how to blend the methodology training along with the actual product training itself. Now, there's one thing learning the product, but what we're trying to do here is demonstrate how to understand the methodology that goes with those. And obviously, because it's a growing market, it's in its infancy. How many organizations are adopting cloud? How do you reach out to them? Who are they? That's obviously a challenge as well. But also what customers are buying, what they're implementing, and how can you align yourself with, the market moving forward. So obviously what we offer here at Vertex as a recruitment consultancy is that support and that advice in obtaining your next role in that cloud market, as well as assisting you in developing those skills moving forward. So that's where we come in. We can help you to map out the current trends in the market, understand the salaries or the rates that are on offer, where people are hiring, and help you align in that next position. So, that's really the services that we're bringing in that help to balance off these market challenges as well. So at the moment, it's very much a chicken and egg situation. However, the way I see it, and I know a lot of consultants that have already adopted our training, is the fact that, if you can be ahead of the market and become one of those experts in the early adoption phases, then that puts you in a much better position moving forward. So how can we help with that? As an organization, we provide Oracle University training. We're an Oracle University partner and reseller. So we sell their training, so it's all certified Oracle training. And this is across the whole red stack. So there's over 6,000 courses, but Oracle are now moving towards very much a more digital learning path, and therefore with learning subscriptions, we're able to support individuals and enterprises moving forward, but we also build into that some instructor-led training as well. And working with people like Aidan, we're able to blend with that the methodology, understanding the full implementation, what I call soft skills, although there are elements of hard skill in there as well. But obviously understanding the methodology and the implementation life cycles puts you ahead of your competitors, potentially. And also we provide user adoption, so from a cloud cloud adoption piece. There's very much new technology in terms of contextual help and guided learning for user adoption for the Oracle Cloud user base out there as well. So moving on to the 6 steps that Aidan and I have put together to combine the functional skills with the Oracle Cloud product learning. What we've very much done here is looked at the methodology, how to blend that with the technical training that you can gain from adopting Oracle Cloud learning subscriptions. So I'll just hand over to Aidan to talk about the functional unified methodology training, and then I will discuss the product side alongside that. So Aidan, over to you.
Sure.
My PowerPoint's got stuck, sorry.
No problem. So what we have done is break down the project lifecycle methodology into 6 key functional skills: objectives, requirements, design, build, test, and transition. And from an objectives requirements perspective, what this does is it kicks you off on the project and creates the very best first impression that you can have with your client. So from an objectives, you're discussing with senior business people, maybe finance directors, etc. And the methodology and the way we teach it, including examples and templates, gives you a real quality deliverable that will withstand, I think, any scrutiny from a client. That's one thing about the new Oracle Unified Method. It's the most, having worked on projects for almost 25 years, it's the most comprehensive documentation that I've seen. So, and what the documentation does is the sections in the doc actually prompt you to ask the right questions. So in the objectives, you are prompted to ask the right questions to capture the right information to impress the client and to carry on through the next phase.
Yeah, and alongside that, we start very much on the cloud training, the product training, understanding the evolution, so how we got to where we've got to and how the cloud products are developing. There's very much an overview piece here, understanding the introduction of the system, the overview of the system, and it's quite intensive, but it really does give you a solid foundation of which to grow. Then we start looking at things like the functional setup manager within SAS, and then obviously the overview of the reporting and the analytics that sit alongside that.
And then from a methodology perspective, then we're in the design and implement key phases of the project. So here it's really about configuring the cloud to your client's requirements that you captured in the previous phase and demonstrating your cloud knowledge to the client. So the way the 2 pieces of training, the functional methodology training and the product training dovetail together is to give you the complete picture, the complete knowledge set of the product that you're implementing in cloud and the way to implement it using the methodology.
So back to the cloud learning subscription, very much here we're focusing on the much more technical, configurable elements. We're looking at this functional training piece that's very much focused on the individual modules as well as the how the setup and configuration, and then the integration elements, and then how the systems are coexisting moving forward. So quite an intense part of the training here from a learning subscription, but what we'll demonstrate is the fact that there is a set learning path for functional consultants as well as technical consultants to take them through this learning piece within the system itself.
So then the next key project phases then are the build and test. So primarily here we're concentrating on testing. We do supervise the build with the development teams, but testing is one of the key phases of a cloud project, and the methodology with its example documents and templates, gives you the ability to put together a robust test phase with the business signed off at the start of it, and a nice, easy progression through testing and business sign off at the end. And that's the beauty of the methodology, is that it protects you as a consultant because it prompts you to ask the right questions. If you ask the right questions at the start, you should have as smooth as possible a testing phase, and that's kind of the purpose of the methodology training.
Yeah, and alongside that, with the learning subscription, you know, you have role-based learning in there from a functional administration, cloud administration, system administration, as well as the technical elements. But and we can follow that through each role. But alongside that, we'll start to learn more about the analytics, about the reporting elements that reside within the system itself, and how to maximize the benefits there.
So then we're moving on then into the transition and the administer phase, and what this works out in practicality in a project is to be part of the cutover planning. So what I really recommend is that as a functional consultant, you try to get involved in the cutover planning, because it starts earlier in the project. You'll be talking with the key business stakeholders. It's a great opportunity to develop your reputation and increase or extend your longevity on the project, then to stay on the project longer. And the key thing is that you're in the room and the credit is being given. So I've worked on projects before where if you're just taking a functional role, you may not be part of cutover, and you don't get credit for the work that you've done. And that's why I really recommend getting involved in the cutover plan. We go through that in detail in the methodology training.
And going back to that administration piece, obviously we need to look at things like data loading. We need to look at things like the migration and the conversion of the data. We then need to look at the mandatory upgrades that you're going to be looking at as a cloud consultant. Every 6 months you're staged for an upgrade, and how to deal with those considerations. So this is very much post-go live elements and also the data conversion aspects as well.
So then from a methodology point of view, having gone through the 6 key phases at a detail level, you sort of you scale up, let's say, and look at things from a higher level review, where your learning fits into a project where you can kind of rework your CV, your interview script, and your preparation for new roles, let's say. And you also have the chance to work in WhatsApp and Facebook groups with peers, other delegates taking the course, and with instructors.
Once you've been through the training on Oracle learning subscriptions, you will have as you go through that learning, you'll have continual skill checks. I'll talk about that shortly. So it brings you up as a kind of gamification, a point scoring system, and following on from that, once you subscribe to cloud learning subscriptions, you get the ability to sit a certified exam and become certified as a cloud consultant in a specific area of which you've been trained. So there's very much that method all the way through the learning.
So then, just to kind of summarize, I guess, the benefit of acquiring these implementation skills. When I transferred in from technical to functional, I had a really difficult start as a functional consultant, because I went in every day not knowing what was going to happen. I wasn't able to do any preparation for the next phases, because I didn't know what those phases were. And that's what the methodology gives you, is the confidence to walk into the office every day knowing exactly what's going to happen today, what's going to happen next week, what's going to be expected of you next month, and actually being a leader on the project, because you'll be the guy with the cool head that knows what's happening right now, what's expected, and what your project manager is going to ask for you to prepare for the next phase of the project, while everyone else might be losing their heads. You'll be the one keeping yours.
And I guess even before you get on that project, it's our job here to help promote your certified status and help you to get that role, that position, that contract, whatever it is that you're looking for as a recruitment specialist in this particular field. We're very much incentivized to work with the consultants that we train up to secure their next role. I mean, obviously, this is an investment on anyone's part, so therefore we want to try and make that return on investment very viable for you as a recruitment partner as well. And that's where, you know, we really start adding that value beyond that certification phase as well. So just moving on to the cloud learning subscriptions themselves, you'll see here that it's very much broken down into SaaS and PaaS. You can purchase a learning subscription based on the technical or product area that you specialize in. So software as a service, it's broken down into those, well, I think we've got there 6 key areas. So you've got CX, which is everything kind of CRM as we used to call it. So CPQ, marketing, sales and service. Then we break down into EPM, which obviously is a Hyperion piece in terms of planning, forecasting and budgeting. Then we look at ERP, finance, PPM and procurement. HCM, which also covers payroll and talent management. And then we look at the social side of things. And now there's a lot more being developed in terms of supply chain management, which does encompass manufacturing as well as product hub, customer hub, and MDM as well, which is some of the parts we're going to just showcase today. And then on the other side, you've got the platform as a service. Now, this isn't actually broken down. So when you buy a platform as a service learning subscription, you get everything there. So that is huge value for money. Well, they're all huge value for money, but today what we're going to talk about is the cloud learning subscription and then demonstrate the supply chain management. We have done other demonstrations on HCM and others on finance, and you'll find those on our YouTube channel, but today we're here just to sort of showcase supply chain. So the platform itself, this is showing in the middle the dashboard that you would see as a user, and it's very much broken down with a lot of functionality built into it. We have role-based training, we have skills-based training. There's a very powerful search function. You get your individual progress reports, which is the point mechanism and the micro certifications that I was briefly mentioning. And if you're an enterprise, you get a company progress report as well, which is very, very valuable for the L&D teams. Oracle now do live events, which as a subscriber you would get access to, and we have online testing built into this function, as well as defined learning paths that will help you to get and gain, you know, the real navigation through the learning. And you can create your own personalized queue. So what's really important to you, you can put that into your learning itself, so you don't have to keep searching for things. You can keep coming back to the training that you're looking to adapt. So at the top right, we have content by release. So you can drop down from, say, version or release 11 to release 12 and then learn the differences between the two. You can track your own progress and the learning paths there, as we're demonstrating, looks like the tube map, but you start off as a new user and then it explains how to adapt the new features in the latest release as an experienced user as well. I mentioned about having your own little training area where you can queue things. and access to live events as I've discussed. The skills point counter is at the top right of the dashboard. I'll show you it in the demonstration. And again, you can learn by role, as well as gaining certifications, and look at any particular hot topics that are coming up from the other users within the learning subscription, particularly on navigation or support issues. And also, as a learning subscription member, you gain access to the Oracle Customer Connect community, which I cannot promote enough, really. There's brilliant forums on there at which you can connect with other cloud experts around the world, actually, and ask them questions and learn from other people's posts and questions and queries. So briefly here, we look about the navigation through the learning piece. As you can see, it's very much like a train track, but as a new user, it's all about getting started, understanding the basics, and then going through the role-based or the skills-based training, and then gaining that certification. Now, as an experienced user, you've already done that, but it's about discovering what is new in the latest releases, updating those skills. And one thing that the learning subscription does is it enables you to look at the training you've already consumed, and then it maps for you the piece that you need to adopt in the latest version. So whereas before you'd have to go back over the old training, you don't need to do that anymore. It's just a case of topping up your existing skills and then maintaining those credentials moving forward. So Oracle University very much thought about how you would continue to learn with the system as it continues to progress and upgrade as well. So what we have here is very much a role-based piece of learning. So as you can see, we've got a cloud sysadmin role here, and it will take you through each of those phases that you need to adopt. And at each phase, there's a skills check to validate the learning that you've consumed. Underneath that, you'll see that there are labs, so you can book in an environment, a sand pit, from which you can practice the training that you've just consumed. And also there are activity and student guides built into the system as well. So moving on, we now have a topic-based learning. So we're looking at security here and the topics that arise underneath that. What you'll also see is certain elements of where the system has been upgraded and the training has been upgraded, and therefore you reskill as you go through. And again, there's a skills check element to this as well. As a learner, you get your own tailored progress report. It will show you what parts you've completed, what parts you still need to complete, and then once those have been achieved, you can then go through your certification. There are micro certifications along the way, and as a learner, if you go through the learning on 11 and you then retrain on 12, it will update those certifications for you as you go through. So again, this just highlights some of the role and skill-based learning we've got here. We've got topic-based, skill-based, and role-based training. So very much from a functional, a technical, or administration. However, what you may find is that as a cloud consultant, you need to blend some of these role-based learnings together. So you can do that using this system. So we're going to cover now, and Aidan's going to just discuss some of the functional training that we blend with this learning subscription, and I'll pass over to him just to cover that piece now.
Sure, yeah. So what we're talking about here from a functional perspective, you can see some of the typical tasks that a functional person does on the right. But really, the project is based around, the training is based around a cloud project and the 6 key project phases, which are also the 6 key skills, so objectives, requirements, design, build, testing, and transition or cutover. and there's a flow from each skill or each project phase into the next. So just to kind of give you a pictorial representation of how the project flows. So what OUM, or Oracle Unified Method, is 1,500 steps, I think. The latest version of what we've boiled it down to is the key steps that you'll be asked to do as a functional consultant. So at the very start, we talked earlier about getting objectives. Then you move into the next level down of capturing the detailed requirements. And then you progress into the design phase. So one of the real benefits of Oracle Unified Method is that the methodology was redesigned, and it's an improvement over AIM in that it has pictorial or graphical representations in some of the key documents or deliverables where you need to talk to business users. So it allows more clarity and an easier sign-off from the business, and I think a greater understanding of what's going on in the project. And the ability to be able to deliver those documents will actually make you the understandable guy in the technical team, let's say. So it can be daunting for business people when they've got a lot of experienced Oracle consultants who are beavering away at their desks. If you're the guy who talks business language, then you're at a big advantage to other consultants. Then this just shows you the design and build workflow, moving from requirements to previous stage and then into the next slide, which details the test. And finally, test and transition. We put a big emphasis on testing because, again, it's a key interaction with the business, and it really can make or break your cloud project. And what we do is we go through a real business scenario and give you example documents for that scenario, and that's the way we teach the methodology. So you'll be able to leverage those examples and deliver quality OUM documents very soon after taking the training.
Okay, thanks, Aidan. So let's just jump into a demonstration here. I hope you can see this. So where I am now is I've gone into Oracle University's website. And you'll see, obviously, that they're advertising lots of different learning here. But if I go to the training piece, I'm going to go down to Cloud Learning Subscriptions and click here. So basically what it's going to show you is a number of offerings of which you can adapt. So we have infrastructure, PaaS, and SaaS. Or there is an unlimited cloud learning subscription, which basically gives you access to everything. So, you know, if you're a supply chain consultant, but you also have a big crossover into finance, you may want to learn finance and supply chain as a cloud consultant, for example. Obviously, each cloud learning subscription comes at a cost. I wouldn't advise that you buy 2 cloud learning subscriptions. My advice would be that you buy the unlimited cloud learning subscription, which will be a lot more cost effective. But the challenge with that is, of course, that you need to have the time to be able to learn all of this training, because there is a lot here. It's a big investment for anyone, so therefore, you know, I would suggest that, you know, you put a time aside to be able to take on this particular learning. But we've mapped so far HCM and finance and supply chain across and involving the methodology training, and we can help with giving you a guidance to how much effort and time you would need to put in. So let's just scroll down here. As you can see, these are all the individual cloud learning subscriptions. We've got CPQ, finance, HCM, marketing, procurement, PPM, sales, service. But today we're going to focus on supply chain. So I'm going to click on supply chain here. That will take you into the dashboard. So once you purchase cloud learning subscriptions, and particularly supply chain, this is your base. This is where you come in as part of your learning subscriptions. So you'll see here the roadmap that I already discussed about new versus experienced users. At the top left here, you'll see there's access to different versions. So release 11, then obviously R12, we've got some transportation management in there as well. And then there's the home button. So this will bring you back to this point at any time. On the progress elements, if you click there, it will basically tell you where you're at in your learning paths, what you've consumed, what you haven't consumed. Go back and relearn certain parts you maybe you think you've completed when you haven't. And then that will help you to keep track of the learning that you're trying to consume. In the My Training options, if we click here, this is very much that queuing system that I mentioned. There may be parts of the learning that you want to personalize and keep in one place so you can keep coming back to. I'll demonstrate that shortly. Within the live events, these are ongoing events that Oracle put on, and you get access to these, and obviously they're diarized for you there as well. So I'll just go back to the home page, and I'll scroll down. So what we have here are learning channels. We've got the introductions, getting started, how to make the most out of this learning subscription, and then we go into what's new in release 11. Then we've got the role-based learning, your certifications, and this is very much underneath the Customer Connect forums that I mentioned that I would certainly recommend anyone take advantage of. So that's how the channels are mapped out. You also have another tab here for the learning paths, which this is very much taking you through a streamlined learning to gain certification. So for order management, for example, this is an implementation course. If I click here, this will take the student through this order management learning. Just wait for the system to follow through. So this, as you can very much see, is the learning path here. You can maximize and minimize that learning, and it very much takes you through that entire learning path. And then at the end of that is your implementation exam and certification. What you can do is you can add this to your learning. I'll click that. Now you can see that this has been added to my queue. So if I OK that and then go back up to My Training and click on My Training, you'll now see that Order Management Implementation Essentials course has now been added to My Training. So I don't need to go through any searching. I can just come back to My Training whenever I want, click here, and this will take me into that learning path that we've just demonstrated. So what Oracle are trying to do here is make the consumption of this learning as simple as possible. Now, just going back to the home page, and I'll go back to the channels. So if we're learning by role, for example, let's just click here. You'll very much see these channels of the functional technical administration skills that as a cloud consultant you'll need to consume. And there's one thing being a functional consultant, but you may need to understand the technical aspects from a coexistence piece, and beyond that you may want to understand the sysadmins part in terms of the functional setup manager, in terms of the data loaders, and that's where you'll learn each of these parts. So I'll just click into the functional aspect, and then that will take you into the individual products within the supply chain suite. Let's just pick on order management. So let's go into order management. And you'll see here that what we're looking at here is skills-based learning. So as we can see, it's skills here, and the skill we're learning is demonstrating end-to-end order-to-cash functionality. If we then click here, that will then take you through this learning. So again, you can add this skill to My Training in the queue system. You can learn this particular piece in release 11 or 12. It tells you how long the training video is, how many points you score for this, and also we have Ask Your Instructor. Now, as a learning subscription, you get access to the Oracle University certified instructors for the whole year. So any questions that you have, you just basically click your option here. It automatically identifies the part of learning that you're within. You then fill out the rest of the topics and your question here, submit that. As you can see at the top here, there's very much an SLA geared into this, so the instructor has to respond to you within 2 business days. That is a service level agreement that Oracle University have in place. So I'll just exit out of that if I can. Excuse me a second. Okay. So moving down, as you go through the learning, each piece is awarded certain points scoring. As you can see, there's certain elements to this, and you can very much come back to this. You can start, stop. So these are all learning videos, so I'll click on this particular piece here, and then this is where it will drop you straight into this particular aspect of the learning. So you're learning a specific piece that you need to learn. So I'll just mute this particular piece of training. You'll see that this is all critiqued, and you can search through this learning content. As you can see underneath, I've just dropped down the actual critique of the learning itself, and in here you can search for keywords and phrases that you may need to add some additional training, for example. I know that one of my customers has very much learnt how to become, how to support a service request, and they used this product to do just that. They searched the topic. Within the topic, they searched for a keyword, and that actually managed to resolve the support query that they had for their live system. So it can be used in many different ways. So all these training videos are within the system itself. Then, once you've gone through this specific skill, there's a skill check here that I'm just going to log into. So it's taking me into the single sign-on page. And then within that, it will take you through this skill check. So I don't know if any of you have done this kind of thing before. So you can very much go into the skill check itself. It asks you a number of questions, and then you submit with the next question. And at the end, it will give you your score. So you very much need to score, I think it's, there we go, 80% or higher to achieve that skill. So just going back to this particular skill that we're looking to learn, each component is broken down. Now, once you've consumed all of those components, you can use those skills to then take on the labs training as well. So I'm just going to go back here. Just bear with me a second. With any live demo, there's always a challenge with the system itself. So what we can do here, this is part of your skills-based learning. You can then book a lab. Once you've taken the first and the remaining pieces of the skills you need to learn, we can book a lab. So this is a live environment or a vision environment that you can then schedule. So my suggestion would be with the labs that you actually book these in advance, because sometimes there's a week or two to get a live or an environment that you can utilize. So rather than do the learning and then book the lab, realizing you've got to wait a week for the lab environment to become live, my suggestion is book the lab and then you've got a date to work to. Therefore, you're probably more likely to focus on the learning to become achieved by the time your lab becomes available. Okay? So that's very much built within the system. You also have underneath here the student guides. So I'll just click on one of the student guides here. This will then take you into the documentation that you can then leave this open Unfortunately, you're not able to download it, but you certainly, like I say, it's like a book here. You can read that and consume that to your heart's content. So just going back to the learning subscription here. So each component, as you can see, is broken down. You have your labs for each component, so it's specific to that piece of learning, and then you have your activity guides moving forward. And at each stage, you've then got your skills check, and then you can go on, once you've completed all this learning, to then become a certified consultant in that specific area. And then at the top here, you can move between each module within that particular piece of learning to then consume all of those aspects. Okay. Now, one thing I will say is that you've got a lot of support here. The trainers are available throughout your learning subscription. This is an annual subscription, and you get access to all this learning for an entire year. Okay. So, going back to our presentation, it's taking me all the way back, so sorry about this, everyone. Just go back to the page that we're actually on. What we've done here is we've very much looked at each learning subscription, and we've mapped out the training that's required and the kind of time constraints and the time involvements. And, you know, really, it's a case of putting the time in. As you can see here, from a supply chain perspective, we've looked at the unified methodology and blended that alongside the cloud learning subscription. The total amount of time is 103 days if you can only invest 2 hours a day in your learning. So there's a lot here, a lot to learn, and it's a lot of effort. So therefore, if you're going to subscribe to this learning subscription and the unified methodology training, you need to be 100% committed. What we don't want is for any students to be wasting their money on something that they don't have the time to commit to. Now, if you are an independent consultant, you're available and you can commit, you know, a lot of time to it, then obviously that learning path becomes considerably condensed. And at 4 hours a day, you can consume all of this learning in just over 2 months, which, you know, from zero to hero in 2 months, so to speak, is pretty good going. And then obviously from there, you know, we can help to promote you in the market and get you put that new skill to practice. So that's where we come in from a recruitment perspective. You know, we've very much been in the Oracle market since 2000. 17 years as an organization. I've been in the market beyond that. So we have a large customer base that we can talk to on your behalf, organizations that have already adopted the cloud, those that are thinking about adopting the cloud, consultancies that are involved in implementing these products. And, you know, this is just an example of some of the organizations that have already adopted cloud technology. So there's some very large brands here, and you know, these figures will only continue to increase as time moves on. So how much does this cost? It's for both learnings, the retail price of this is £4,650 for a whole year's worth of access. You know, that gives you all the labs, the cloud learning subscription, your certifications. This also gives you access to Aidan's methodology learning for an entire year. This also gives you access to our service to help you find employment beyond that, as well as your micro certifications and complete access for a 12-month period. We do offer a repayment model, but more importantly, before the end of this month, we are offering a £1,000 discount on all of this learning. So it's a very, very large discount, and that's only until the end of May. If you're an independent consultant, this is completely tax deductible. You run your own business. You can offset this against your tax returns, because it's an investment in training for your organization. So talk to your accountant. We've already done the due diligence. We know from a UK perspective that it's completely tax deductible. And obviously in the UK, that's 22% corporation tax liability that you'll save on. And Aidan informs me that that's quite a lot more over in Ireland. Is that right, Aidan?
Yeah, it's around 45% over here, so you can be safe in the knowledge that you're getting back some money from the taxman anyway.
Yeah, about time as well. So just beyond that, then I guess we'll move on to any questions. Unless Aidan, you want to add any more to what I just said there?
No, I mean, I think the combination of the product training plus the methodology training plus the assistance in recruitment and getting hired that Vertex and you provide really is the trifecta in terms of becoming a cloud consultant. Because what I've noticed, and from articles I've written on LinkedIn, is that there's some significant concern about what's going to happen in the cloud. Will we all still have jobs with the cloud? And that's kind of why one of the reasons we put together this training is to take away that fear and to give you a roadmap so that you can transfer into functional or from EBS into cloud, let's say, and that's what this roadmap, this training is about. Is it gives you the product knowledge in minute detail that you can consume in various different formats, and the implementation methodology, the project methodology, so that you can have real confidence going into your cloud project that you will be probably one of the more better informed people in the room about what's going to happen on the cloud project. That will, because cloud is relatively new, there's not that much market experience yet in the market, so you'll likely be working with other first timers in the cloud. And that's what the methodology and the product, and then the assistance to actually get the roles in the first place really gives you a great step up into the cloud market, and future proofs your career for the long into the foreseeable future.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think having spoken to one particularly large adopter of cloud, their big question to me was, what do we do when our SI leaves us? You know, we need people to come in and support the system, help them with their continual upgrade process. So there is and will become quite a big contractor market, as well as, you know, a lot of opportunity for permanent employment. So the opportunities are there, that's for sure. And obviously taking this training from a methodology as well as a product-based training will certainly help people in their careers moving forward in the cloud. So I think it's still early in the day, Aidan. I think we don't have a lot of questions, so that's could be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure, but any other points that you could think of at this particular juncture, or should we wrap up for now?
I think we could maybe go back over some of the popular questions that have been asked, let's say. So for people that are transferring in from business, and there's a definite path for transferring from business into functional, because very few people actually start as a functional consultant. They come in from the business or from tech or from other parts of IT projects. But what people commonly ask is, do you have to know any programming to be a cloud functional consultant? I guess the answer is no, really. The way, even more so than EBS, cloud is really much more business focused. The documentation is more graphical than technical, let's say. And while you do need to know the product knowledge, which is what the Oracle's training gives you, it's much more accessible for the business user who wants to transfer in. So the door has never been as open as right now for a business user with cloud to go, right, I'm going to make the jump from being a business user who's worked on a project or someone who's interested in Oracle Cloud or consulting in the cloud to go, right, I'm going to leverage my business skills, which and just kind of build up my product knowledge and my functional knowledge, and there's no programming required.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, as you say, there's the time. There's not been a better time than there is now to make that transition. And obviously, your methodology training facilitates that really nicely, and dovetail that with the full product learning. I think it's a great opportunity for those that want to make that step and transition into the cloud for sure.
Yeah. Maybe we could just summarize again the difference between cloud learning subscription and unlimited cloud learning subscription.
Yeah. So if I go back to this page in Oracle University's website, you'll see again the learning subscription library. So here you have a breakdown of the individual learning subscriptions that you can purchase. Now, obviously, it depends where your product speciality lies. You know, if you're a CPQ consultant, you know, you may only be interested in CPQ, HCM, finance, etc., etc. However, there is a procurement-specific learning subscription, and there is a financials learning subscription. Now, you may say, well, I'm an ERP consultant, but I also implement finance and procurement. So what do I do in that situation? Well, rather than spending money on a finance cloud learning subscription and then buying a procurement cloud learning subscription, what you can do is you can purchase what we call an unlimited learning subscription. So I'll click on this tab here. And the unlimited cloud learning subscription, as you can see, is a little bit more money. We're still offering discounts on the UCLS, as we call it, but that gives you access to all of these channels. So you've got the PAS channel, CPQ, marketing, EPM, the service sales, finance, HCM, talent, as well as supply chains, and the social channels. So there's a lot here, and obviously you can tap into this or each particular channel for an entire year. And you know, it doesn't stop at a year. You can renew this, you know, every 12 months, so you can continue to learn on a recurring basis. Now, as a working contractor, for example, this is a minimal investment over a 12-month period to keep your knowledge up to speed. So, you know, this will cover the entire base of cloud products that exist today, but also those that will exist moving forward. So it's not just about the content that is there now, but I know that Oracle are developing a lot more new content as we speak. So all the new product content will be added here as well. So I hope that kind of explains things in a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything. Is there any other points before we sign off there, Aidan?
No, it's just maybe about how to get in touch with you and the next steps for people potentially interested in moving forward with this. Yeah, so we will reach out to those that were unable to join today with a recording anyway, so that's fine. But my contact details are on the page here, but we will be
emailing everyone as a reminder of the offer until the end of May, just to allow people how to reach out to us. We can do a separate one-to-one demonstration if there's anyone listening that would just like to go over some points or has some additional questions. So we're happy to do that. Me and my training team here can cover those points off, so that's not a problem. On our vertex-it-solutions.com website, there's an area for Oracle training. Within that, you'll see a page for how to become a cloud consultant, and all of what we discussed today is already there. Alongside that will be recordings of our recent webinars and obviously the presentations as well, but we'll send a copy of the presentation out by email as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for your time today, and of course we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.